Today we're going to make an automatic garden that uses LED lights to make the plants grow. This video is sponsored by Lexol, which is my go-to synthetic rubber sealant whenever I want it to be crystal clear. I'm going to make the planter part of the garden out of marble tiles that I got from Home Depot. I used my tile saw to cut pieces of marble that would fit around the plant that I bought. I wanted to have the option of keeping the plants in their pots that they came in, so I cut a border of thin pieces of marble that I can use to sort of mask the transition between the marble planter I'm making and the inner ugly plastic pot that the plants came in. I used my miter saw to cut short pieces of aluminum angles that I'm going to use to reinforce the corners of the marble planter. I cut shorter pieces of aluminum angles that are going to serve as supports for holding in the floor of the planter. I'm going to use tropical hardwood deck boards to make the floor of the planters, and again just using my miter saw to cut them to length. I used construction adhesive to glue the aluminum angles onto the marble. I wanted to make sure the construction adhesive had fully cured, so I waited 24 hours before assembling the next step of the planter. While the construction adhesive is curing, I started cutting pieces of 1/2-inch copper pipe to use to make the structure that's going to hold the lighting for this garden. I used the planter box as a guide and then measured pieces that would fit around it. And I cut those pieces with my tube cutter. This is actually really easy to do. You don't need any fancy tools for cutting copper. You can just use these handheld tube cutters. Rather than soldering all the pieces together, which requires a torch and it's a little bit difficult to do, I decided just to glue them together using Gorilla Glue. This is a system that works really well and I've done many times. I just put a little bit of Gorilla Glue on the inside of the joints and then slightly dampen the pipes with water and then fit them together. The Gorilla Glue expands when it comes in contact with water and you get a nice tight fit. Once the Gorilla Glue had cured, it foamed out of the joints a little bit. So I just chipped that away with my knife and then brushed down the entire structure with some steel wool. Now that the outside of the planter was done, I was ready to put in the floor. I used construction adhesive to secure the pieces of tropical hardwood decking to the aluminum. Now, even though I'm not trying to make a watertight planter, I do want to control where the water goes. I'm going to seal the edges around the corners of the planter and the floorboards with a product called Lexol. Lexol is my favorite synthetic rubber sealant to use whenever I'm doing something that I really want to look great. That's because it's crystal clear. I've looked at a lot of different sealants and this is by far the one that has the greatest transparency. It dries really fast, it's incredibly elastic and tough, and again, it's really clear on just about any material that you apply it to. To learn more about Lexol, click on the link that's in the description box below. I only had to wait about 30 minutes for the Lexol to cure before I started to assemble the planter. I designed it so that it had options for how I wanted to collect the water that overflowed from watering the plants. I can either slide a saucer or a collection dish under the planter itself, or as I did in this case, I can just put one underneath the potted plant itself so that everything is hidden by the marble. One of the features though that I'm most happy with is the ability to add a marble border that fits inside and sits right on top of the aluminum angles. These pieces of marble provide a really nice flexible way to create a transitional border that hides the edges of an ugly flower pot. Now I want to be able to grow these plants inside and away from windows, so I used a socket and cord set from the Color Cord company and this really cool LED grow light bulb from Taotronic. I'll put links to all these products in the description box below. An indoor garden that doesn't need to be near a window is a great first step, but I want to take this concept farther. So if you know of any cool products or systems that could provide automatic irrigation, hit me up in the comment section below. I really like the way this system works, and I like that I can adjust the light up and down as the plant grows. I think I'm going to try this for tomato plants next, since the copper can act as a structure to support the plants. For more detailed instructions, check out my website, and if you want to see what I'm working on next, be sure to follow me on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks, bye.